The warning came as a whisper across every human frequency. A voice not born of Earth. This is your final chance. Leave the stars. No one slept that night. In orbit, the moon stations flickered with emergency lights. On Earth, leaders argued in tense rooms while citizens stared at the black sky, half believing, half afraid. Commander Arya Vale stood in the bridge of the Vigilant Dawn, humanity's first deep fleet carrier. She didn't speak as the message repeated again, softer, almost pitying. Around her, the crew exchanged nervous glances. Do they really think we'll back down? Her second officer murmured. Arya's jaw tightened. They don't know what humans do when cornered. The voice belonged to the Zareen, an empire older than Earth's first stone tools, their fleets blotting out suns. Their final warning had ended countless civilizations. Humanity was next on the list. But what they didn't understand was simple. Humans had already survived extinction many times. On a cold, fragile planet, they had hunted beasts, fought wars, rebuilt, and learned. They were born from survival itself. Arya watched the void ahead, her hand hovering over the command panel. Transmit the signal, she said. Her comm officer hesitated. Are you sure, ma'am? That means war. It means we stop pretending we're prey. The message that left Earth that night was short, clear, and human. Warning received. Return the favor. The galaxy trembled. The hunters had awakened 3 days after the message. The sky above Earth looked calm again. It was a lie. Under the Pacific, in a hidden command complex, Arya stood in front of a holographic map of the solar system. Lines of light showed patrol routes, hidden platforms, and something new, dark zones where human ships no longer appeared. Phase 1 is holding, said Admiral Rios, his voice rough from too much coffee and not enough sleep. Civilian traffic is masked. To the Zareen, it looks like we're pulling back from deep space. Let them think we're scared, Arya replied. Predators relax when prey runs. She watched as icons representing Zareen scout ships slid toward the outer planets. They were testing human borders, measuring response times. They didn't see the silent mines floating in the dark. They didn't notice the drones with cold engines drifting like junk. Arya remembered hunting with her father in the forests of old Europe. You don't chase the animal, he had told her once, guiding her hands on the old rifle. You wait. You let it think it's safe. Then you strike where it never expects. Now she was holding a much bigger rifle. Commander, the sensor officer called out, pulling her from the memory. New contact. Large signature. Edge of Neptune's orbit. Zareen cruiser, maybe more. The room went quiet. Rios exhaled slowly. So, the first real hunter steps into the field. Arya's heartbeat steadied instead of racing. It always surprised her, how calm fear could feel when there was no turning back. Order all decoy ships to keep falling back, she said. Make the retreat look messy. Panicked. I want them confident. Rios studied her for a moment. Most species begged when they heard that warning. Arya's lips curved in a small, tired smile. We're not most species. In the black far beyond Neptune, invisible to any normal eye, human weapons turned and waited like patient, buried teeth. The Zareen cruiser entered the trap like it was sliding into a calm lake. No alarms. No sudden flashes. Just a silent ship drifting past Neptune's pale arc, confident in its own legend. On the Vigilant Dawn, now hidden behind a cold-rocked moonlet, Arya watched the contact settle on the hollow. The alien vessel was bigger than any human ship, layered with armor like thick scales. Its energy readings hummed like a storm. Range? She asked quietly. Within net, Commander, replied the sensor officer. They don't see us. Their scans are focused inward, not outward. Predators looking for teeth in the wrong direction. All right, Arya said. Wake the field. In deep space, hundreds of dead objects came alive. What had looked like random ice chunks and broken metal suddenly unfolded into weapon platforms. Mines spun softly, panels opening like steel flowers. Drones that had been drifting cold lit up with a whisper of power, still too faint for most sensors. The Zareen ship kept moving. On the alien bridge, they likely saw a quiet system and a shaking prey species. Humans abandoning outposts. Human traffic pulling inward. Fear if you wanted to see fear. Target their engines first, Arya ordered. We're not smashing them. We're cutting tendons. Rios glanced at her. You want prisoners. I want them to understand, she replied. A real hunter doesn't just kill. It studies. A low countdown started. 10, 9, 8. Somewhere on Earth, children were still going to school, unaware that the first true clash for their future had already begun at the edge of the dark. 3, 2, 1, the weapons officer whispered. The trap bit down. Explosions flared like suns, invisible shockwaves tearing at alien shields, and in that first stunned second, humanity stopped running and started hunting. The first thing that surprised them was the silence. After the trap closed, the Zareen cruiser didn't explode. It shuddered, lights flickering along its hull, then went dark. Its engines were crippled. Its weapons powered down, one by one, under the steady bite of focused EMP bursts and precision rail shots. On the vigilant dawn, the bridge glowed with status updates. Enemy propulsion neutralized, the tactical officer reported. Shields offline. Life support still active. Good, Arya said. I want them alive enough to listen. Rios raised an eyebrow. You're still sure about boarding them? We could finish this from here. She looked at the drifting giant on the hollow. If we kill them in the dark, they'll write us off as lucky prey with sharp teeth. I want them to see us, to remember us. The boarding team gathered in the launch bay, armored Marines, helmets under their arms, weapons slung but ready. There was no cheering, no dramatic speeches. Just quiet checks, nervous breathing, small human rituals. One soldier kissed a charm hanging from his neck. Another adjusted her gloves 3 times, then once more for luck. Arya joined them, helmet in hand. A few heads turned. You're coming with us? Someone asked. I gave the answer, she said. I should stand by it. The shuttle ride across the void felt longer than it was. The Zareen ship grew in the viewport, its hull scarred and smoking. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its side. Remember, Arya said over the squad channel, her voice calm. We are not here as victims who got angry. We walk in as hunters who chose this field. The shuttle locked on with a heavy thud. Cutting torches roared to life, drawing a glowing circle in alien metal. When the door fell inward, the first thing they saw were eyes watching them from the shadows, and for the first time the Zareen saw what hunted back. The air inside the Zareen ship felt wrong, like walking into a deep cave that didn't want visitors. It was thicker, warmer, carrying a faint metallic taste that clung to the back of the throat. The emergency lights along the corridor glowed a dull violet, casting the alien walls in slow, pulsing shadows. Arya's visor translated the atmosphere readings in a comm sidebar. Breathable with filters. Not friendly but survivable. The figures in the shadows stepped forward at last. They were taller than humans, all long limbs and layered armor that seemed to grow from their skin. Their eyes were narrow and dark, set deep under bony ridges, watching the humans with a mix of anger and, Arya realized, something else. Caution. Her squad tensed, weapons lifting. The Zareen raised strange, hook-shaped rifles, then hesitated when they saw the humans didn't fire first. Hold, Arya said quietly. No one shoots unless I say. One of the Zareen moved ahead, armor catching the violet light. Its voice came through a translator as a low, rough echo. You heard our final warning, yet you strike our vessel. This is not prey behavior. Arya almost smiled inside her helmet. That's the point. We offered mercy, the alien continued. We took none from your kind. Why do you choose death? Who said we chose death? Arya replied. You told us to leave the stars. You thought that would scare us. Where we come from, warnings like that are invitations to stand. There was a small silence. Even through the translator, she could hear the disbelief. You are a young species. You misunderstand your place. She took one slow step forward, weapon lowered but steady. No, she said. We finally understand it. That's why you're the ones standing in our sights. For a long moment no one spoke. Human rifles and Zarine weapons stayed halfway raised, like both sides were holding their breath. Somewhere deep in the ship, a damaged reactor hummed, a low, tired sound. The Zarine leader studied Arya, his head tilting slightly. "You are not like the others we ended," he said at last. "They cried, bargained, surrendered their skies. You spring a trap and board a crippled hunter. Why?" Arya thought of Earth, the crowded cities, the quiet villages, the children who had no idea this conversation was even happening. "Because if we run now," she said softly, "we'll be running forever. That's not how our story goes." One of the Marines shifted beside her. "Ma'am," he murmured, uneasy. She didn't take her eyes off the alien. "You say this was a final warning," she continued. "So here's ours. We are done being catalogued, judged, and sorted like animals. If you hunt us, we will hunt you back. If you push us out of the stars, we'll carve our way back with broken hands if we have to." The Zarine leader's fingers flexed on his weapon. "You think yourselves apex predators." "No," Arya answered. "We think we're something worse for you. We're persistent." Behind her, the vigilant Dawn sent a tight beam transmission into the dark, already relayed by hidden satellites and silent probes. Recordings of the encounter, footage of the trapped cruiser, proof that humanity did not beg, that it had teeth. "This conversation," she said, "is being sent across the network. If you wipe us out, the last thing the galaxy will remember is that we never bowed." The alien's weapon lowered a fraction. It wasn't surrender. It was something rarer. Recognition. "You were given one last warning," he said, "and you answered as hunters." Arya nodded once. "Then carry this back to your empire. The hunt is no longer one-sided." When they left the crippled ship, the Zarine were still watching them, and for the first time in a long, long age, the old hunters felt something unfamiliar crawl up their spines. They had found a species that refused the role of prey, and humanity had just taken its first true step into the stars as what it had always been. Not the weakest in the dark, but the patient, relentless hunters waiting within it.